90.3 WHPC now presents Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now, learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property, and learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau, a past dean of the Nassau Academy of Law, and frequently lectures to lawyers on ethics and avoiding problems with clients, and to the public on how to choose and use lawyers. This is Law You Should Know on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today, my guest is Dr. Vicki Matthews. She's a naturopathic physician and also relationship coach, and the author of the book, The 5 Elements of Relationships, How to Get Along with Anyone, Anytime, Any Place. And we'll talk about how lawyers can get along better with their clients and others, and how people in general can get along better with their friends and family. Vicki, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And communication and getting along with people in all different contexts is very important for lawyers and their clients and in all their relationships. So what is some general advice about that, let's say in do's and don'ts, how to have more and more positive relationships?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's important that we understand each other, that we are not all wired the same. What matters the most in my life to me may not be what matters the most in your life to you. But sometimes I think when we're in relationships, whether it's a personal relationship or a work relationship, we're looking at everybody through our own filters. And so we assume, well, it matters to me, so it must matter to everybody else. But that's often not the case. So I think the first step and the first rule is understand the people you're with. And that means you have to really pay attention to them, not just make assumptions.
And what are some general guidelines to listen more, to ask questions, to facilitate an understanding or a conversation?
And pay attention to what matters to them. I mean, really, that's in the system that I use, which is based on the 5 element model from Chinese medicine. We are energetically all wired with one of these as a primary way we look at the world. Those 5 elements are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, and they're very symbolic in the Chinese model. But it actually works out pretty well. If you've got a water personality, how they are perceived by wood, well, in nature, water feeds wood. So a water-wood relationship might feel pretty good. But water with a fire person, water puts out fire. So it may not be feeling quite as good to the fire person. And I think if we know going in, whether we're talking about working with clients or we're talking about working with children or our spouse, if we understand how they're wired, what their primary elemental personality is, then we already understand a lot about them and can use that information in our relationships and interactions.
Learning about them and understanding them, what are some other do's and don'ts? Having a style that will complement them, that will bring out the best in them, that will put you on the best path to the best possible relationship?
Well, it really is understanding, and you can do, whether you're talking about a work relationship or raising a child, you can pay attention to their behaviors and it will give you clues in what they do or don't like. I mean, a fire personality will love people and parties and fun, and that's great, but a water personality, maybe not so much. They like to be alone more. So you can watch what they do and what they don't like, and then gear your interactions with them to build on what they like and avoid what they don't like.
And also not coming on too strong until you find out if it's welcome, if they open the conversation to talking about themselves.
Absolutely. For example, if you're dealing with someone that's a water personality, they love free time. They like deep discussions and reading things that are intellectual. They hate tight schedules. They'd never ask a water person to do a budget. They will suck at it. It is horrible for them. So they don't like structure, but they'll always want to do a deep conversation, deep issues. So if you start knowing that about the person, perhaps a water person wouldn't make a good receptionist because they really don't like meeting other people. But earth personalities love interacting with other people, and they love making sure people are comfortable and happy. So that's where you can build on their personality tendencies, and in an employment situation, put someone in a place where they'll shine rather than sink. And if you're raising a child, oh my gosh, if you're raising a little water child that wants to talk about deep things or spend their entire life reading, throwing a big pizza party for them probably isn't going to go over well.
And you could try to build up to it gradually, start with
Absolutely.
one other guest, two other guests, five other guests before you invite the world.
Exactly. And then make sure you're including as the guests people that are wired like that child, so that they have someone to have deep discussions with, or someone that likes to read books with them. Like I said, it comes down to understanding who you're interacting with, what their strengths will be and what their weaknesses will be, and playing to the strengths and not the weaknesses.
And this is very important in working with clients, whether you're a lawyer, an accountant, or a coach, and trying to get the information you need from them to make them comfortable with the challenges ahead.
And to help them face the challenges ahead, help them build on their own strengths they may not know they have. So it's a way to move through life with ease.
And let's say they didn't, what would be some ways to help them build on strengths they didn't know they had, and to support them if they were not strong in those areas?
Okay. So let's use the receptionist example. If you've hired someone that is the first line of people, your clients meeting someone, you don't want someone who doesn't like people. You don't want someone who doesn't enjoy connecting with people or making sure people are comfortable. In the system that I use, someone that enjoys meeting people, connecting with people, and making sure they're comfortable is the earth personality. So it's really nice to hire someone that has a lot of that in their personality. Another personality type is in the 5 elements is the fire personality. They love meeting people. They're very engaging. We've all met them. Hi, I'm Vicki. How are you? Let's do this. That's a fire personality. So a receptionist with that personality would also be a strength. So it's understanding what you're looking for in a particular employee, what you require of them. I mean, for a law firm, you would want someone that knew every detail of the law. That is not going to be a water person. That's going to be the metal personality that loves study, loves detail, loves following the rules to the nth degree. So if you know what you need from your employee, or if you know what you're facing with raising the 2 children you're raising, you can play to their strengths, surround them with things that will build on those strengths, and not expect from them things that they're not wired to give.
So the fire personality might be a good courtroom advocate, telling stories, trying to sway judges or people.
Yes, and they will be someone that can bring passion to what they're doing.
And what would you say is there's a difference between the fire personality and the earth personality?
Okay, the fire personality really loves connecting with people. They love enjoying life. So they will always want to talk about, this was great, but let's go have drinks. Or this was great, but this weekend, why don't we do a skating party? I mean, something like that. When you're raising a child, it's know what they're good at, what the fire person will like, and they'll want a party. They won't want to go to a quiet movie with mom or dad and sit in the dark. I mean, but the water personality would probably find that very enjoyable. I mean, one of my favorite stories is a father that I worked with who had been a sports star in college, and he was a wood personality. That's the go out, make it happen type of person. And he had a son, and he wanted the son to play football, and the son didn't want to play football. The son wanted a camera. And I worked with the dad and helped him understand that the son was not wired the same way he was. To expect him to be a football star was unfair to the child. And once his dad got it, and he got that the kid was a water, that's artistic, creative, quiet, he went out and bought cameras, and they both did photo shoots, and the kid's a professional photographer now. So it's that level of understanding that helps you guide, whether you're guiding a child or helping a client through a difficult case. If you know what their strengths are, you can play to that and not try and build on something that they don't have.
And your law firm, your family, your business is going to operate smoother as a result if everyone is in their proper lane, so to speak.
Well, and again, it's building on strengths. Everybody wants to succeed. Everybody wants to be good at what they do. And if you ask someone to be good at something they're not naturally wired to do, they will never be as good as asking them to do something that they're wired to do. That is a skill that comes with them, that is something they're good at. So it's a matter of helping people succeed, really, at some level or another.
And try and help your relationship with them succeed as well.
The relationship will succeed if they each honor who you are. If I can say to you, I'm a wood personality. I like success. I like accomplishing things. I like making things happen. And you can help me with that. And you could say, I'm a water personality. I want to talk about deep things. I can help you with that. So it's if we understand it, and of course, there are quizzes. I have a quiz actually on my website and in my book that people can take to determine we have all of these, but what's the primary one that you lead with? What's the primary one your child leads with?
And I just want to take a break, but then I'd like to ask you how those two different groups can best communicate with each other and build a stronger connection, whether in life or work. I just want to remind our listeners, you're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York. We're talking with Dr. Vicki Matthews, a naturopathic physician and relationship coach, and she's also the author of The 5 Elements of Relationships, How to Get Along with Anyone, Anytime, and Any Place. So how can you create connections to someone who's a different personality type? What's the best way to do it?
First and foremost is to honor, the brilliance of saying, I get that we're not wired the same is like half the journey right there, is not expecting them to like what you like, not expecting them to do what you think they should do if they're wired differently. So for water personalities, yes, they like deep thought. They are, inner wisdom, philosophic. If you know you're working with a quiet, inner directed water person, well, in fact, I actually had a friend that had her dad was a water personality. He was a widower. Anyway, she brought water friends to visit him so that he had someone to talk to that wanted to talk deep thoughts or be philosophic. And that's a way, if you know you're dealing with a water person, make sure you have other people that would like the deep thinking or artistic. Waters are incredibly artistic. Wood personalities, they want success and accomplishment. If you're raising a wood child, being able to help them succeed will feed them. If you have competitive lawyers that you're working with, you know that success is going to be very important to them. Fire personalities like connections with people and fun. They like fun. So they're party people, and having fun parties will help a fire person feel that they can just really revel in connecting with people. The earth personalities are the moms and dads of the world. They really value family connections, long-term friendships, and they also like food. They're where foodies sit. So if you can help them feel connected with things, that will always feed them. And the last personality is the metal personality. They like correctness, protocol, law. In their mind, there is always a right way to do something, and why anybody would do it any way but the right way is lost on them. So doing things the right way matters to those metal people.
A by the book personality.
Absolutely by the book personality.
And the earth person, you said, is like a warmer person, but,
relationships really matter. Family and friends, and lasting connections. They will pick being with family over being with someone they just met any time of the day. And the interesting aspect in each of these personalities is if the personality becomes out of balance, if they're too stressed and they're not managing their life well, there is a very negative flip side to these behaviors. Enjoying families and lasting connections is a great thing and is really important. But if they get out of balance, an earth person can become very clinging and very dependent. So each of these personalities, have the way you want to see them, and then a sign that they are perhaps out of balance.
If they're pushed too far in a different direction, they'll be out of balance.
If they're pushed too far or too much is asked of them that they cannot deliver. If you go to a water person and say, here's a recipe, will you please make this exactly the way it is? They won't be able to do it because they're kind of guideline people. They aren't going to be precise. And a metal personality would be better because metal people like precision. Most lawyers have a lot of metal. To actually get in and embrace the law and know the detail of the law and work with that wisdom, every lawyer is at one time or another working from the metal part of their personality.
So can there be hybrid personality types?
We have all five.
Okay.
We all have five of them. They all five are stack up in us. It's like little layers in our auric field. The one closest to us is what's called the primary elemental personality, and like a tint on a window that colors how we look at the world.
And that's the more dominant personality.
That's the more dominant
and the one that gives you a perspective.
It's the one that colors how you look at the world, quite literally, because there are shades of colors associated with this. But you project it. It's also what helps attract people to you. Someone that really wants someone to take care of them will be attracted to an earth personality.
Can you shift a little bit if you wanted to project, let's say you're talking to a jury or you're in a relationship or you're trying to do a special project. Can you shift a little bit to manifest, let's say, a slightly different perspective?
Oh, yes. Yes, we do that all the time without even knowing what we're doing. For example, I'll use lawyers as an example. The detail that sits in metal element that allows a lawyer to study all the things they need to study to become a lawyer. Yet when you're in a courtroom, you need a certain amount of showmanship. You need a certain amount of ability to talk fast and be convincing. That is not necessarily a metal skill. That is more a fire skill. That is the quick connection, the eye to eye with the jury. And now, of course, you all believe, and what any reasonable person would believe, blah, 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 blah. That's fire. So we learn ideally through the times we did something and it really, really worked, that's the way to be. But sometimes we learn because, wow, that was a dud. I can't do that. I need to change. And
when you hear about a famous personality or an actor say they're really introverted, they just shift when it's time to perform, or they harness their extrovert energies?
Yes, and they are harnessing their fire energy. A natural fire can get in front of 10,000 people and talk and be completely comfortable.
But the earth might be able to shift for the performance, for the trial, or whatever it is.
No one would ever think of me as a fire. But when I am teaching to 1,000 people, I am very fiery. I'm engaging, and it's sort of something you learn to step into. And I'm not that way normally. And any actor, if you've ever watched actors especially actors that do comedy, they are using so much fire, that quickness, that instant laugh, and fires love laughing.
And for some people, that's their natural personality.
It is their natural.
For others are adopting it for the moment.
Yes, and we can adopt any one of the five we want to for the moment. That's the beauty of the system. We have them all. The one nearest us in that field colors us. But in fact, I remember when I first started a training program that I ran that had, tens of thousands of people in it. And we put together a faculty, and the first class, it was the first live class we were doing, had probably around 300 people in it. And the woman who was going to get up on stage to teach got stage fright. She was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's like, oh, yes, you can. And you just find that inner fire, get up there and be fiery. And she's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And she got up on the stage and she was brilliant.
And for lawyers and business people and others out there, so they can segue a little bit. They can push themselves by taking little steps and by doing little exercises to shift their personality for work or for some other
and we all do
event.
That. I guarantee you there are people that have gone through law school that are not primary metals. And they learn to find that metal energy to study and to pass the bar. I mean, I got one of my goddaughters is a great attorney, and when she said she was going to law school, I thought, are you kidding me? You do not have that much metal. But she's a brilliant lawyer. She's great. She got through law school. She did really well. So she knew how to tap that. And we innately do. It's not like I had to give her lessons or anything. We know where we have to step, usually, to be able to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish.
And sometimes lawyers can go into different aspects of law that fits
Absolutely.
their personality and their skill set and their comfort zone.
Yes. And that personality will probably color mightily what they choose to practice.
I just want to remind our listeners, we're talking with Dr. Vicki Matthews. She's a naturopathic physician and also relationship coach. She's the author of the book, The 5 Elements of Relationship, How to Get Along with Anyone, Anytime, Anyplace. This is important for lawyers within the law firm, within any organization, and within their family and life. And in terms of, so it's very important in all relationships to understand those around you. And I do want to mention also, you're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. If you missed any part of the show or you want to tell someone else about it, just go to the website, nccradio.org. So how can one personality support other personalities who may be different than them? Just say you're doing a good job, it's okay, or maybe you want to add this little ingredient to your performance?
I would say the best way we can support each other is to try and understand each other. When I know before I had studied this deeply, I'm not a fire personality. I don't crack jokes. And I remember working with someone who did, and I remember thinking, God, they don't take their job seriously. I'm a serious wood person that's, wanting to make headway. And I wish I'd known then what I know now. I would have appreciated their attempt to bring levity to a situation that could use it. So every one of these 5 personalities has gifts to offer. And I think that would be my biggest takeaway is appreciate the person, understand the person. And once you understand them, it'll be much easier to get along. Once you look at him as this guy that I was talking about, once I realized he was a fire, it's like, okay, yeah, he's doing what he's good at. And that's his way of moving through life. And you
mentioned earlier, it's always a good idea to listen and learn about what interests them and what type of personality they are.
That's how, there are different ways to understand somebody. You can understand by spending time with them, listening to them, comparing their behavior to known behaviors across these different 5 elements. You could obviously read my book, but also you can really spend time appreciating how well they fit in the whatever occupation they're in. And how they're building on strengths.
And just tell us about some of the other information that we can learn from your book and also your website and what information is on your website.
Okay. Well, I think probably my goal is that everybody gets along better with everybody else. That's my goal. And my basic main belief is that we look at people and assume they want what we want or appreciate what we want or don't like what we don't like, and that just isn't true. There are 5 basic personality styles, and they are wired into us. We couldn't change them if we wanted to. We can take on ones that aren't primary when we need to, but when you're just working with somebody, you have to take them where they are and appreciate what they're good at and acknowledge they may not be as good as you at other things. So you can read about it in my book. You can also, I have a lot of information on my website, which is drvickimatthews.com. That's drvickimatthews.com. And there is a quiz there that you can take to help determine what your primary elemental personality is. You can have your family members take it. And
your work colleagues take it.
Yes, your work colleague take it. And what's really cool is once you know the connections, for example, I am a wood personality. My husband is a metal personality. How does that work in nature? What is metal's relationship to wood? Well, metal chops wood. That isn't going to feel so good for me sometimes. But I might feel better with a water relationship at times because water feeds wood. So woods might like being around a water personality, but a fire person, what does water do to fire? Water puts out fire. So once you understand the inherent dynamic in your relationship, you can work with it. My husband and I have been married a long time, and we have worked through the fact that he can come on really strong with me, and it feels like he's chopping me.
And so you want to evolve, so you're complimenting people in different types of people in relationships and supporting them.
In a perfect world, yes, but you can't be what you aren't. So I think it comes down to understanding and working with that. Just understanding that people are wired differently. And again, a fire person's going to not like being around a water person, and a wood person will, because wood's going to be fed by the water and fire's going to be doused.
And if you're meeting someone, perhaps a potential employee, a friend, a colleague, what are some quick ways to find out what their personality is versus yours?
You mean you don't want to hand them a quiz and say, take this quiz? So I think really you can tell, number one, by what they like to talk about. If they, somebody starts talking about their family, they're an earth personality. That's the way it is. Or their house, or how they're decorating or something. A wood personality will talk about their accomplishments, what they've succeeded in. Waters will really be either artsy talking, or they'll have a philosophic bent to whatever they're discussing. Really. And fires will not want to talk. They'll want to laugh and have fun.
And what about those who are talking too much or too little, or being too judgmental early on? Too
judgmental early on is probably a metal personality. And if you first understand that they think that's a gift, that they are the discerners at the end of a cycle, and this stays and this goes type of thing, they think that's their gift. And in many cases it is. I have learned that being married to a metal for a long time. But what you can do is, what controls metal? Fire. Fire melts metal. So if you get a little fiery, like fun, happy, oh my God, that's so great, but let's go do this. It's going to be so much fun. Either the metal will leave you and say, I don't want to go do that, or it'll help.
It will bend and reshape itself a little bit.
It will relax them and make them mutable.
Just give us your website one more time, Vicki.
drvickimatthews.com. And there's lots of hints and clues on there of how to deal with other people too, because it's important. That's my whole belief, is if we understand where someone's coming from, we can get along with anyone.
Okay. I would like to thank our guests for helping us to better understand relationships within the law, within the office, and within the family, and within life. If you missed any part of the broadcast, you want to tell someone else about it, just go to the WHPC website at nccradio.org. And please join us next week at this same time for another program on Law You Should Know on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nass Community College in Garden City, New York.